Okay, so you got WYNN calls. And why did you do that? There was news out, basically tighter regulations around Macau. And for those that don't know, Macau is Las Vegas of the world.
Yeah.
Like for casino stocks, that's where you go. They generate more revenue than anywhere else, per capita for sure. But you have some players that are in that space, and WYNN is probably the most exposed. Well, there's news about tighter regulations potentially coming for Macau, and those casinos in Macau, largely you're thinking of really MGM and WYNN. WYNN, you had mentioned in the watch list this morning that that essentially 40% of their revenue is in Macau.
Yeah.
And so the stock sold off. You decided to get into calls. Talk about that and talk about what your overall sentiments are as far as the casino stocks are concerned.
So Don found out that I got into to call options on WYNN and had a little bit of a conniption, which, hey, listen, because I was a little bit too far out of the money, I think, for his liking. So I have 97.5 strike. They're November calls, though, so I got plenty of time to work with. And that was kind of like my own thought process. It was like, I'll get something out of the money just to see how it works, because I'm still trying to I'm one of those visual learners that, like, I have to screw it up to kind of learn from it. So all of the call options that I put in so far, I've played perfectly, and I know that's not supposed to happen. So I'm just waiting for me to make a big mistake on one of these before that happens. So I got in. We talked about the Airbnb calls. That went beautifully. Put the stop in, got tripped, made money. This time around, I'm actually down on WYNN, around like $350 so far on these call options. But I just took the call options yesterday at 97.5. And I'll go ahead and share my screen with you just so you guys can see. They expire November 15th. But I was trying to take advantage of the overreaction, because I did think that this was an overreaction. I mean, the stock came down 30% over 2 days on the news. And so I thought that this could potentially be a really good opportunity to, take something out of the money, see some of the volatility, and take advantage of some of the overreaction. And that was 100% the reason why I took calls here. I didn't take the shares only because I'm only risking $1,000 worth of. So that's the other thing. I'm risking small here. It's less than 1% of my account size. So this is something that I think that was just one of those things where you could see the risk there. I'm willing to lose $1,000 on this, because I think that I'm actually going to end up being in the money on this.
Yeah. And kudos to you, man. You have bigger balls than I do, because I have no interest in yet going for the calls.
Yeah.
But I understand, but I do agree with the leverage perspective and getting options instead of just buying, shares. If your account can sustain 100 shares at $85, right?
Yeah.
But regardless, I do think that there's opportunities there. And these are the perfect opportunities we're talking about. And I'm going to use this opportunity to really look beyond just WYNN for a second. But if you can pull up MGM,
yeah,
and then we'll also look at Penn. I don't really care which company you guys are looking at. I feel like it's really an overreaction for any company. So right now you have you and we'll discuss the technicals in a second. MGM, which is one of our top 2 casino stocks, didn't fall as much, down 2.25%. Penn, which we'll show as well, Penn was actually red. And so I think this is while WYNN could be the play, you can make the argument for MGM.
Yeah.
You could make the argument certainly for Penn. This morning we talked about it in level 3 in the Zoom mentorship, where Penn has zero exposure to Macau. It seemed like just an overall segment, sympathy move down.
Yeah.
And while it was a little bit tougher for people because of Penn, just the levels it was at, I think it was hard to pull the trigger. Penn seemed to be the safest cost benefit, and it's looking really good now. And MGM, if you were concerned with the 40% exposure, which, to be honest, I was a little bit more concerned than you were about it. I thought the move was overdone on WYNN, but 40% of revenue is a lot.
Yeah.
MGM doesn't have as much. I don't know the exact number, but if I'm not mistaken, it's less than 20%, so less than half the exposure that WYNN does. So the point is, there was opportunities there, and I think that there are still opportunities, because this sort of it's not an investigation, but it's almost like a regulatory review, is 45 days. So I think over the next 45 days, we're going to see fluctuations.
Yeah.
Starting with WYNN. WYNN would, well, actually, I'll let you talk about MGM and I'll let you talk about Penn. And then I want to talk about what happens after the 45 days.
Okay. So for MGM, yes, this actually, from a technical standpoint, the chart looks still beautiful. It's very much intact, held up over $40 a share. So even though we saw this correction, I think that could be a good opportunity to at least grab a starter, if nothing else. If you're already in, could be a good spot to even add to. But the fact that it's held there is actually really encouraging. But Penn also held that 50-day moving average beautifully, came down and touched it to the cent and bounce right off of it. It is up 2.5% here. And this was probably I think because of the exposure I already had to Penn, I wasn't, going to pay too much attention to it. So, but technically speaking, this looks beautiful. It bounced right off the 50-day moving average. And I think that this should go up from here because the reaction here, because of that news, made 0 sense.
What is the 50-day moving average for people?
73.24 is the 50-day moving average for Penn.
So I would say, so thinking about the next 45 days in the outlook, because you may get rumors, I'm not sure, but you'll certainly get an announcement. I think just as far as the move down, WYNN will be the most volatile out of all of them. But to your trade, it's going to have the greatest move up. If they're honestly, regardless, it'll move back up eventually. I don't think this is like doomsday for WYNN.
No.
But if the news is good, where they're like, not going to really be that much restrictions, no big deal, WYNN will bounce right back, and you'll have that opportunity for a move. Just a timeline for people is going to be the 45-day timeline. So getting in before that, any sort of rumors, news, they'll have 45 days. It may come out a little bit earlier. But if Penn drops at any point in time, that's a clear buy to me.
Yeah.
If it's clearly off that news.
Yeah.
MGM, it's actually been running. So like it's in my long-term account, but this is one I've wanted to get in, but unfortunately it's just been kind of hot.
Yeah.
This could be that opportunity. We'll see how it plays out the next day or two, and then next week.
One thing I want to note, I did see who was it? Was it Claudia? Yeah, she said that WYNN broke a major support. It did. Okay. For 5 minutes. I just want to point something out. So I put in the watch list. By the way, if you guys want to get our daily watch list, WYNN was on there today. That kind of give a brief explanation as to what I saw. I mentioned that 86.30 thereabouts was going to be a crucial area of support because we saw that it kind of test that and bounce and not really look back way back here in November of last year at that 86.20 mark. So it broke below that very briefly. If it closes above that today, which it's looking like it should, I think we're going to be in decent shape. As long as we stay above that 86.30 mark, should be fine with WYNN. And I mean, listen, it can still come back down for sure. But so far, the way that it's reacted, and we come out to the 5-minute chart today after the crazy sell-off in the morning, and then really all day it's been grinding higher. So I think that, taking advantage of, like I said, the overreaction is really what I'm after.
Yeah, absolutely. So needless to say, to us, this is an opportunity. We talk about the stocks we look at in the channel, looking for things that are on discount. Not an easy trade to make, but we feel really confident about this space, especially MGM and Penn, because they obviously have different revenue opportunities. And MGM's exposure to WYNN exposure to Macau is going to continue to shrink as online sports betting clearly generates more revenue for them.
Yeah.
So stay tuned, guys. Let us know in the comments, which is your casino stock? What's the one you like? Does this matter? Does Macau matter? Is this an opportunity for you? Or is it status quo?